EM Larson is one of my favorite writers for MLP. He wrote epic all over critical acclaimed episodes like Sonic Rainboom, Cutie Chronicles, Return of Harmony, Lunar Eclipse, It's About Time, Ponyville Confidential, the first CMC episode to not have them be Cutie crazy. And while not everybody likes Magic and Mystery Cure, I hope we all can agree that, considering what he had to work with, Larson did an impressive job getting us through that intense season's finale. He has just an extreme talent to give underdeveloped characters like Luna and Diamond Tiara, and even our main 6 new dimensions and deaths. But every Megan McCarthy has her Flash Sentry, every Daniel Ingram his Failure Song, and every Hasbro has their Pink Celestia. And EM Larson, he has his super speedy Cider Squeezy 6000.
Well, you got opportunity in this very community. He's flat with a Flim Flam brothers. Traveling sales, ponies non-parade.
Hello out there, this is TheAnYPony, and today I want to share my thoughts on the Flim Flam brothers, or rather their misrepresentation or flaws in basic concept. By the way, isn't this title card just adorable? Big thanks to Chrissy aka Keyframe for volunteering to join my army of slaves as my new title card artist. She also does draw her own stuff on her Ask-Tumblr, and she is about to start her own analysis channel featuring even more of her drawings. Anyways, back to topic. Look, I know that these brothers have a decent fanbase as 2 of the most liked villains of the show, but that's a problem. They are not really villains at all. Canned Cream already made a really good point about it in his video. By the way, a little shout out here. If you want to see a Bronalysis not doing standard episode analysis every week, but instead talking about original meta concepts, you know, the stuff that made Digi that big to begin with, while managing to pull off using a pony creator OC. I didn't believe that this was possible until I stumbled over his stuff. I really recommend checking him out. Anyways. CC makes a good point about why the brothers are, if anything, only antagonists, and how even that role could easily have been avoided. Like Anthony C before him, CC even does the math and shows how easily the apples actually could have profited by striking a deal with Flim Flam. Anthony even went a bit further, explaining how Flim Flam actually won fair and square, and how the apples only became victims to the brothers' evilness because they threw the towel after losing the competition for, and that's where this episode simply gets stupid, exclusive cider selling rights. They did not lose the farm, they still own all the apples. And may I remind you that while cider season probably is a big and important phase in the apple's product cycle, they still have the entire Zap Apple line, their pies, and, you know, apples, their core product you see AJ selling every other episode. Keeping all that in mind, what went wrong? Why do the brothers look like those mean evil con men? Well, because they were supposed to. It is basically in the name, Flim and Flam. In addition, their entire design as well as their epic introduction song are throwbacks to the Broadway musical The Music Man. The musical's protagonist is the self-proclaimed Professor Howard Hill, a conman who at some point pulls the entire population of a small town on his side with a music number.
We got trouble! Oh, we got trouble! Right here in River City! Right here in River City! With a capital T and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool! That stands for pool! We surely got trouble! We surely got trouble! Right here in River City! Right here! Remember the Maine, Plymouth Rock, and the Golden Rule! Our children gonna have trouble! Oh, we got trouble! We're in terrible, terrible trouble! That game with the 15 numbered
Sounds familiar, eh? So, from their appearance, to their introduction, to their names, to their function in this episode, and their eventual defeat by the quote-unquote good girls, they were supposed to be the meaniest meanie McMeanie pants in all of the equestrian cider industry. And that's horse apples. They have a magnificent, perfectly functioning machine that is not only working multiple times faster, but, taking Granny Smith's own face as reference here, is really good. In other words, being faster while delivering a similar level of quality makes the Flim Flam brothers the better cider producers. They really should have come out on top. Considering that the apples were never able to provide enough cider for their fellow ponyvillians, they should have welcomed a partnership with Flim Flam. Instead, the brothers get run out of town. Larson, you screwed up big time. I can see what your intention was. Telling the good old story of evil businessmen coming into an idyllic small town, causing trouble by threatening to kick the beloved local family company out of business. And to spice things up, you gave those evil businessmen con artist traits. The only problem? They are no con artists. They have a machine that is not only functioning but obviously better than the Apple's traditional methods. The brothers' first action was offering a business partnership. A partnership every pony would have benefited from, at least after adjusting the numbers a little bit. Once again, check out CC and Anthony, they did the math. The brothers would have had a job, the apples would have been able to produce and sell more cider instead of having to face an angry mob at the end of each day, and the pony villains wouldn't have had a reason to turn into an angry mob to begin with. A win-win-win situation. But no! The brothers had to be evil to the point of evil laughter after they had won the bet. That is turning a character evil for the sake of being evil. And that is, to put it simply, horrible writing. You wanna know how this story should have turned out? In the end, the apples realized that the Flim Flam brothers actually do have the objectively better business model, and they earned to be successful, and eventually the apples and the brothers would team up. And you know what? This story has already been told. Back in 1998, the South Park episode Gnomes dealt with a very similar setup, but blowing people's minds with the conclusion that big fat companies often enough aren't where they are now, bad practices they adopted afterwards aside. South Park, a show full of political incorrectness, cute humor, and made for an adult target audience, teaches a better lesson in regards to their topic with an episode featuring underpants gnomes. Then a show aimed toward children's demographic that is all about teaching valuable morals at the end of the episodes. Sorry MA, but you know that you feathered up when South Park is teaching the better and more sensible lesson than you. Now, 2 seasons later, the Flim Flam brothers have their big comeback. As I already explained, I understand the original concept behind Flim and Flam, but back then they ended up being eccentric inventors rather than scammers. Now they have been turned into literal snake's oil salesmen. Well, not literal, since it is some kind of apple juice, but still, you degraded them. You turned them into the worst kind of scum. Ponies who earn the trust from the sick and suffering and use it to sell them a fake product they know that doesn't do horse apples. Even later, when they kind of imply towards AJ that they are using the placebo effect, it is obviously just an excuse to smooth talk AJ into playing along. They obviously don't stand behind it. Instead, they even use Applejack's silence as a marketing tool to boost their fake product even further, pretending it is real. They just keep pushing it without even realizing that it steers completely out of control in the way that Granny is about to kill herself. And even after that, they still do their sales pitch. Really? And it doesn't look to me that the show is actually implying that they are that kind of evil businessmen who are willing to literally go over corpses in order to have success in business. That leaves only the one conclusion, that they are feathering oblivious idiots. The aspect that baffles me the most about this entire mess is that fellow analysis actually calls this developing the characters of Flim and Flam. They actually view it as something positive, that the brothers get degenerated from genius inventors to lowest tier con men, whose plan will inevitably fail since they operate completely short-sightedly. Leap of Faith is not an expansion of their characters. It's a devolution. They get reduced to the lowest common denominator of their 2 appearances, being greedy imbeciles. Some people made the argument that Flim and Flam are basically the ponification of the mean evil corporations and represent different manifestations of such corporations in their 2 episodes. While I might be able to see this apply for Leap of Faith, it still fails in regard to Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000, since, as I explained earlier, their representation as the pony-shaped versions of evil corporations trying to kill off the small local businesses with their evil machines was feathered up beyond salvation. They rather turn out to be the incarnation of process, while the Apple family and friends got turned into the forces that hold progress back and forcefully cling to their old ways, ignoring their possible benefits if they just could adapt and eventually write the new ideas out of town. That actually reminds me of some real life conflict going on and affecting most of us for the last few years. Just look at how old-fashioned industries struggle to adapt to the internet age, and instead of welcoming progress and teaming up with the new guys in town, as Flim Flam originally offered, they fight the progress even though they already realized they are in the wrong. In their first appearance, the Flim Flam brothers have been us, while AJ and Co have been Soper. And now you celebrate that those two have been turned into snakes oil salesmen? Yeah, think about that. This is ANY saying see you soon.
The unbelievable, unimpeachable, indispensable, unbelievable. Flim Flam Brothers, super speedy, cider squeezy 6000.